Good morning, middle school students. This is Mr. Woolley. And remember, the information contained in this video is intended to be viewed only by the students in Mr. Woolley's classroom. By watching the video, you agree that you will not record or share the video with anyone who's not a student in Mr. Woolley's classroom. Alright, lesson 8, we're going to continue solving equations. But we're going to practice building them first, then we can solve them. Alright, for example 1, it says, Julia, Keller, and Israel are volunteer firefighters. On Saturday, the volunteer fire department held its annual coin drop fundraiser to Streetlight. After 1 hour, Keller had collected $42.50 more than Julia, and Israel had collected $15 less than Keller. Three firefighters collected $125.95 in total. How much did each person collect? Find the solution using a tape diagram. Where our starting point is going to be Julia. We don't know anything about her, so we're going to call her X. Keller, we do know something about him. He got $42.50 more than Julia, so his is going to be X plus $42.50 because he had $42.50 more than her. And Israel collected $15 less than Keller, so whatever Keller had, this X plus $42.50, you have to take $17 away from that. Now actually, you can do X plus $42.50 minus 17. You can combine these two regular numbers, so $42.50 minus 17 becomes X plus $27.50. That'll be a lot easier to work with. All right, now grand total is supposed to be $125.95. So let's total everything up. I got my X plus $42.50, and my X plus $27.50. That means I got 3 total X's, and then the $42.50 and $27.50 gives me $70. So 3X plus 70 gives me $125.95. Take away the 70 from each side, and I get 3X equals $55.95, and divide each side by 3, X equals $18.65. That's great for the fact that that's Julia's number. Or Julia's X. She is the 1865. However, we're going to take our answers and do something with them. Keller is Julia's plus $42.50. So if you take the 1865 and $42.50, you get $61.15. In Israel, you take X, which is Julia's number, plus $27.50, you'll get his. X plus $27.50 gives you $46.15, which, as you can see there, is still $15 less than Keller, which is what we were told up in the original. So just because we get one answer, we can actually use that answer to find other details. All right, so that's our first example for the day. Next up, it says, you are designing a rectangular pet pen for your new baby puppy. You have 30 feet of fence barrier. You decide that you'd like the length to be 6 1/3 feet longer than the width. Draw and label a diagram to represent the pet pen. Write expressions to represent the width and length of the pen. Here's my width. I don't know anything about it. It's just going to be my X. But I do know a little bit about the length. It's going to be 6 1/3 feet longer than the width. So whatever the width is, the X, I'm going to add 6 1/3 feet. So now being a rectangle, both these sides are the same, both widths, and both lengths will be the same, X plus 6 1/3. Now grand total is supposed to be 30 feet. So if I add up all those sides, you'll see I get 1, 2, 3, 4 X's, and 6 1/3. 6 1/3 makes 12 2/3. And it's supposed to be 30 feet worth of perimeter fencing. So let's get rid of the 12 2/3. Clear that out of there. I'm going to borrow from the 30, make it a 29, and make that a one that took away 3/3. Now I can actually subtract. So I get 3/3 minus 2/3 gives me 1/3. 29 minus 12 gives me 17. So 4x equals 17 1/3. So divide each side by 4. Now, of course, this involves fractions and mixed numbers and stuff, which is something we got to be capable of doing. So 17 1/3 divided by 4. Well, I'm going to make this improper. It's 3 times 17 is 51, plus 1 gives you 52/3. Divided by 4, what I'm going to call 4/1. Once they're both fractions, I can keep change flip. So keep it, change it, flip it, and then I can cross cancel here. Both these are divisible by 4, so 4 divided by 4 is 1. Divided by 4, you get 13. You get 13/3, or 4 1/3 feet. So now, if that's the case, my width, my X, is 4 1/3. The length is 6 1/3 feet longer than that, so I got to take my width and add 6 1/3 feet. Remember back up here, whatever the X was, I had to add 6 1/3. Now I can do that. 1/3 and 1/3 makes 2/3. 4 and 6 makes 10. So 10 2/3 feet. All right, next up. Example 4. The total number of participants who went on the 7th grade field trip to the Natural Science Museum consisted of all the 7th grade students and 7 adult chaperones. 2/3 of the total participants rode a large bus, and the rest rode a smaller bus. 54 students rode the large bus. How many students went on the field trip? I'm going to let S represent students. So 2/3 of all the kids went on 2/3 of all the people total went on a large bus. 54 people went on a large bus. So it's 2/3 out of the students and the 7 chaperones. Now, as I started doing this the first time, I started distributing, and then I started getting some kind of crazy numbers here that I was going to have to deal with a lot. So I thought, you know what, let me try a different route before I get into too much fraction work. Instead of distributing, if I divide by both sides by 2/3 first, I might be able to get a little bit cleaner work. So instead of taking 2/3 and just timesing everything, let's divide by 2/3 right away. Clears this out. 54 divided by 2/3. Well, it's 54 over 1, and then change the times, and flip it to 3 over 2. I can cross cancel here. I get 27 times 3 gives me 81, and I get a 1 on the bottom, so it's 81. So really it becomes s plus 7 equals 81. Take away 7 from each side, you get 74. So 74 students went on the trip. It's a little less fraction work instead of getting a lot of adding, subtracting, dividing, and stuff with fractions. So this option was definitely a lot better to look at. Now, as we move on to page 53, these are really, really, really important because these are your homework problems for the day. All right, your practice you'll be seeing. Now, what you'll see, though, is I'm going to get the problem all set up, and you'll be responsible to finish solving them and answer the question you see in Schoology. Now, remember, just getting X or just getting W isn't always the answer you're looking for. Sometimes you have to do something extra with it, like the firefighter problem with Julia and Keller and Israel. We had to find out their totals and stuff. So on the previous rectangle problem we did a few minutes ago, you had to find length and width on things. So you had to do something with one of your answers. So same kind of thing here. Be very careful once you get your answer to make sure you look to see what the question is actually asking you in Schoology. So I got it set up. The question in Schoology might be a little bit different. What they're asking is what you see here on the paper. So make sure to take a close look in Schoology with what you got. All right, so here's one. The perimeter of the rectangle is 30 inches. If the length is 3 times the width, find the dimensions. Well, they told me something about the length, how it's 3 times the width. But I don't know anything about the width. So the width is just going to be my W. And the length will be 3 times whatever the W is. All right? So now being a rectangle, I got matching pairs of sides. And that's all supposed to be 30 inches. So all together, 3 and 3 makes 6. Plus 1 gives me 8. So 8W equals 30. Figure out what your length and width are and answer the specific question in Schoology. Number 2, a cell phone company has a basic monthly plan of $40 plus 45 cents for any minutes used over 700. Before receiving his statement, John saw he was charged a total of $48.10. So that's more than the plan, so it must be he did have to get minutes over 700 or because his bill's over $40. Or he gets charged 45 cents for every minute over 700. So we know he obviously used extra minutes. Write and solve an equation to determine how many minutes he must have used during the month. Write an equation without decimals. Well, we kind of have to use decimals. I don't know how they expect you to do that because you're using money, so don't worry about that. We're going to use M to represent minutes. So 45 cents times however many minutes plus the $40 you get charged just for your normal fee is how he gets the $48.10. Now, after you solve that and figure out M, don't forget you have to take 700 plus the extra minutes that you're going to find to get those total minutes. So be careful with that. Number 4, the sum of 2 consecutive even numbers is 54. Find the numbers. Now this is slightly different than what we did a couple days ago, or yesterday I think it was. You're going to have an X, but since they're even, everything goes up by 2 every time. The next number we're talking about is going to be X plus 2. Remember, even numbers go up by 2 every single time. So really, this number and this number should equal 54. So really you get 2 X's plus 2 equals 54. So you should be able to use that to figure out what the first number is, and then use that to find out what the second number is. So remember, make sure you answer your question carefully in Schoology. Number 5, kind of like our firefighter problem from earlier. Justin has $7.50 more than Eva, and Emma has $12 less than Justin. Together they have a total of $63. How much money does each person have? The only person we don't know anything about is Eva. So she's going to be my mystery X. Justin's got $7.50 more than her, and then Emma has $12 less than what he has. So she's my X, he's X plus $7.50, and she's less than this amount, so X plus $7.50, but $12 fewer, so take away 12. Now I can actually clean that up a little bit. 750 minus 12 gives me a negative 450, so she is going to be X minus 450. She's going to be the lowest out of everybody. Now all that together should equal 63. So if I combined 1, 2, 3 of my X's, 750 minus 450 gives me 3. So the equation we're going to use is 3x plus 3 equals 63. Now once you solve for X, remember, that'll be hers. Then use your other numbers to find the other people's totals and see which person that you asked about in Schoology. Our last one, Trevor and Marissa have 26 t-shirts to sell. If Marissa has 6 fewer t-shirts than Trevor, find out how many t-shirts Trevor has. Identify the if-then moves in your solution. Well, he's my X. I don't know anything about him, but she's got 6 fewer than him, so X minus 6. Now in total, they got 26 shirts altogether. So I got 2 X's, and then the minus 6 is going to get my 26. Once you solve that, remember that'll give you Trevor, and then you should be able to use that information to find Marissa's. I believe Schoology asked you about Marissa's, so make sure you read that carefully. All right, thanks for watching, and good luck in your practice.